That's it. Thanks, Dave. Joe?
Mr. Supervisor, on the agenda, you'll see 5 tax certiorari settlements. These are all 2 or more years pending. They were the result of a lot of hard work by our tax counsel, Mr. Beebe, as well as Brad, Susan, and myself. They reflect a number of things. Some of them are very nominal settlements, considering the size of the properties, where we're not giving much of a reduction. Others, we have National Gypsum, what's going on down there, the vacancy down there, and the reduction is larger. Every one of these has been scrutinized very carefully, and are the result of some very hard negotiations. We still have about 4 or 5 more that have to be addressed, which we intend to address within the next few months. And then we're pretty much caught up to 2010, which were the ones that were just filed last August. Our goal with these is to not get multi-years pending. That's when we get into a serious problem with a lot of money on refunds. So we address these head on. We look at them right off the bat. We get involved. We have a consultant that we use, Mr. Barkey, and look at every one on its merits. So these are all, as I said, very, very well scrutinized settlements here, and try to get them resolved. One point you may not be aware of: when these are settled, they can't come back for another 3 years under Section 727 of the Real Property Tax Law. Once an action, a tax certiorari action is settled, either by court or even by judicial decision or a court order settlement, which is what these are, everybody's locked in for 3 years, no increase or decrease, except if obviously if there's a major change to the property that would allow an increase or a decrease. But so any of these properties that we're getting rid of as far as proceedings, we won't see them around for a while.
Okay, thanks, Joe. Thanks, Joe. At this time, I'd like to move to the open public privilege portion. Speakers who state any right to address the board shall be granted for 5 minutes. The board thanks everyone in advance for their understanding and also for their desire to actively participate in the decision-making process locally. With that said, would anybody at this time like to address the board? Nate?
Thank you very much, Mr. Supervisor. Town board. First off, I'd like to thank Mr. Van Homer for your young time members. Hopefully, as it comes to superfluous, and the rest of the department heads will join you in that endeavor. First thing I'd like to ask the board, this is the current time card for the town. I would like to recommend that we get a more professional way of keeping track of employee time. Something for you to take into consideration. Fortunately, I wasn't able to make the January meeting. I was teaching Excel class at the library, but I do have a question about the organization meeting. I was wondering if any of the positions filled were publicized in the newspaper or any type of publication.
I don't believe so.
Thank you. A few figures from 2010. The town paid out $445,000 in sick leave incentive, a little under $60,000 in longevity incentive, and $440,000 in overtime. Just one last question. Why can't we afford $30,000 in accounting software?
Thank you, Nate.
Thank you, Rick.
Anyone else at this time? Cat?
Jeff Conway, 232 Hudson Avenue. I'd like to add my vote of thanks to Jim Moore. I've had occasion to work with Jim on a professional basis and see his work here at the town. Not only was he technically superior at his job, Jim's temperament is such that he never brought his own political agenda. And a director of planning, if the person in that position politicizes that position, it just adds a multiplying effect to the swirling nature of politics around development. And Jim represented this town with intelligence, with integrity, with a wonderful temperament. I've always teased Jim that I'm leaving East Greenbush 5 minutes after he does. So I'm glad to hear he's still going to be working locally and hopefully not moving, so I don't have to follow him out of town, because nobody had the big picture on this town like Jim did. I share Phil's disclaimer that if you could get the next guy or woman to have a better taste in baseball. But now that the Red Sox are going to be good, I'm glad to see Jim go, so let me just say that. But Jim, seriously, Jim Moore did a great job. He represented this town at such a high professional level, and I just want to, as a citizen, thank him for all of that. The second thing is my next door neighbor has had a lot of medical problems, and his wife has had even more. And this year he bought a snowplow because he was worried about not being able to get his wife out in an emergency or getting Brune in if they have to come. And they've been there maybe 8 or 9 times in the last 6 months. She's having strokes and seizures and all kinds of problems. And with the snow piling up, he was really, and he has a heart condition, he was really starting to worry about where to put the snow and how to handle this part of their problem. After the last board meeting, I approached Dave Van Warmer and I told him this story, and I asked him if perhaps somebody could call. By 9:30 the next morning, Dave himself had gone over there, had walked through all of the procedures, showed him where he could put the snow, showed him how to do it, and then left him with his direct phone number and said, if you have any problems, if anything worries you, call me. And I want to publicly acknowledge that Dave did that and thank him for it, because subsequently, in the middle of a storm, Brune had to get into that driveway. And the driveway had been cleared. Brune, as always, was there like that. They got her out of there. She's in a rehab facility now, and we hope she comes home soon. But I just wanted to say that at a point in this family's life where there's a real crisis, Dave really contributed to a sense of well-being, reduced some of the anxiety on these people, and it really was truly above and beyond the call. So I just want to thank Dave and acknowledge that. Finally, the Board of Ethics. I want to give you an update because we're turning the backstretch and heading for home. We have 2 meetings in March at which we hope to finish the draft of a new code of ethics. At our first meeting in April, we'll review all of that. We'll review the draft of the internal procedures, the drafts of the forms that we've designed. And I want everyone to be clear on what happens then. Is what we'll do is when we have the draft code, the draft procedures, and the draft forms, we'll transmit them to the town board as a package and ask for your review. At the same time, we'll hopefully schedule a meeting where the Board of Ethics and the town board meet to discuss your response to the draft, to take comments, additions, deletions, answer any questions, and so on. And then after we get your input at that meeting, what we'll do is redraft in hopefully final form that code and those procedures. And then when we met with Joe Liccardi, he said that the process would be that we'd have to have a public hearing and pass a local law. We'd have to first you'd have to pass a resolution rescinding the existing 1974 code, and then pass the new code of ethics as a local law after a public hearing. So we're getting ready sometime in April, hopefully, to transmit all of this to you. We've done a lot of work. It's a really good group. We've made a lot of progress. And so when we get that stuff to you, we hope you'll look at it real quick. Not look at it quick, look at it thoroughly, but expedite that review so that we can get moving, because the one thing we're doing is working in a vacuum, and until we have the first case or 2, we won't know how everything's going to work. And we'd also, at the meeting with the town board, probably want to have Mr. Liccardi there. And we also want to have Chief Lavin and his department take a look at the draft code so they can compare it to their collective bargaining agreement and see if there are any kind of issues specific to the police department that town board might want to take into account. So the next meeting of the Board of Ethics is March 2nd at 7 p.m. somewhere in this building. We find a niche where we can. We really invite everybody to come because now we've been getting public input all along, and there'll be a public hearing, but it really is something that the town needs to own, that people need to participate in to make it work. So that's where we are, and we invite everybody to the meeting. So thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. You never saw Jimmy Mann, huh, Jeff?
No,
It's not pretty.
Rick, I saw him, but I saw him lifting weights at Planet
Yeah.
Fitness, and I will never speak crossly to him. He throws more weight around that building than anyone else.
Anyone else at this time to address the board?
Oh,
Bonnie?
I didn't hear, I'm sorry, I was right, Bonnie Lester, 7 Western Avenue, Hampton Manor. I was writing, and your answer was brief, and I'm sorry, Mr. Supervisor, I didn't hear your answer to Nate's question.
It was rhetorical.
Well,
Sure.
you know,
No, we didn't.
about the appointments at the organizational meeting, were they made public, where
I'm sorry.
people could read it someplace and apply? How many appointments were made at that meeting? How many new people were?
Bonnie, I'm glad you asked that question, because I sat today with everything I've been seeing, and I did a sort of study from the year 2006, right after Bob died, to now. In that time period, we are down, right now, at this point, 3 policemen.
Oh.
3 policemen at $60,000 is about $180,000 to $200,000 a year. Right now, at this time, we are down 8 DPW workers from 5 years ago. 8 times approximately 45,000, give or take, is about 360 to 380,000. That's about $540,000, $580,000 difference to us. They asked about all these new positions that were hired, that were put in.
Oh, I just asked the number, like,
Yeah, I
what
know,
was the
but
number?
I'm just giving a general statement here for my benefit.
Okay.
We have had one new position that was not in this building or in one of the other departments that wasn't here in one form or another. For example, we have a purchasing agent now. And we talked about, Rick and I talked about this, and I give Rick a lot of credit for it because he thought that was the way to go about 2.5, 3 years ago. And I agreed with him. And so, of course, we got a purchasing agent. Purchasing agent came from clerk's position. She got an increase in pay, which was good for her, and it's fine. It's working out great. She's doing a great job. The only position that we started new was the GEIS coordinator, the AT guy, right? And we put that position in a couple of years ago, and it wasn't new to Matt because Matt was here working with us for 3 to 4 years before that in Jim's office. So I look at all this stuff, I look at how, we just hired everybody and we're wasting. We had, from 5 years ago or 6 years ago, we saved approximately $500,000 a year from what the salaries were at that point. I just wanted to.
So your answer is you only filled just a few.
My answer is, in 5 years, we really only created that was a new position or cost more money than a transfer of positions was Matt Maskell.